Good morning. Happy New Year, everyone, even though we're a month into the year, but this is our first council meeting for 2025. So welcome back and welcome Cody. Welcome from the New Life Church. Come and join us and we invite you to open our meeting.
Awesome. Thank you, Mayor Warboys. Lord, I just thank you for this morning, Lord, and thank you for a new year, Lord. And I just commit our Mayor and the councillors, Lord, and other staff in this room, Lord, into your hands, Lord, as they delve into, Lord, the schedule for the year. And I just pray for success, Lord, over all that they put their hands to, Lord. And I pray that in this environment, Lord, that there would be unity, Lord, although there would be times of disagreement, Lord. I pray that they would each leave this place more unified, Lord, and making decisions that are for the betterment of this town and the surrounding area. Lord, I just pray your blessing upon them. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Thank you, Cody. So as you've entered the new year, is there anything new in your congregation at the church or the work that you're doing?
Yeah. So the Fielding Christian leaders got together yesterday for our first meeting of the year. So we had 11 churches represented. So very exciting for us, hoping to get a few more churches on board. But at the end of last year, everybody decided to appoint me chair for 2025. So the youngest, not by far, but the youngest in the group. And so excited for that opportunity. So that was my first kind of experience of leading the meeting yesterday, and that went well. Still, Martin is very much helping me along with the ropes, and so.
Oh, well done. Congratulations for that, because it's great to be able to have that network to talk to pass messages around, and of course the networks support our Cactus Youth program.
So look forward to working a bit more alongside the council and being more of that go-to person, although again Martin will be alongside me and supporting me in that.
Great. Yes, he's a good mentor. So thank you for coming this morning. Thank you for opening the meeting, and we wish you all the best for the year.
Thank you. Awesome.
Thanks. Right, so this morning, apologies. Welcome, Councillor Bell on Zoom. Nice to have you with us. This morning we do have an apology from Councillor Blackmore. She's had a family bereavement. So I will move that we accept the apology of Councillor Blackmore. I have a seconder, Councillor Ford. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Motion is carried. Thank you. Item 3, confirmation of minutes. There is a recommendation with the minutes on page 7. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Ford.
I'll just perhaps let Councillor Short go first.
Councillor Short.
Thank you. I just wanted to propose an amendment. I noticed in the minutes that it didn't say who chaired the meeting. On that day, Mayor Helen was an apology. And I just think for transparency for the public, it doesn't actually say who took the meeting in your place, although we know that Deputy Mayor Ford took the meeting. If you were reading it as a member of the public, it's not obvious. So I did ask Ash, she's put some words here that.
Thank you. Thank you for picking that up. Right, so the addition is the note in the minutes that Deputy Mayor Michael Ford chaired the meeting.
So I'm happy to move that.
You're happy to move that? Can we have a seconder, please? Councillor Ford, thank you. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. Thank you. Item 4, declaration of interest. Any of the topics on the agenda today that members may wish to declare? None? Excellent. No public forum this morning, but we do have a couple of from our representative grant fund, and great to catch up with what they are doing in their sport. So welcome, Kai. Come on up and join us at the table. Microphone's already on green, so you're good to go. Looking forward to hearing about your experience at the Canoe Polo World Champs.
Thank you very much for having me. As you all may know, I have recently partaken in the Canoe Polo World Championships, which was held over in China. Very graciously, you all agreed to give me some funding, which really helped me get there. So earlier last year, around February, is where it all started. We had 3 trial camps going from in between Hawke's Bay and Palmerston North for our New Zealand under-21 team. We had probably around 30 or 40 trialists. And in these training camps, we were on the water on Saturday for a minimum of 6 hours.
Whoa.
And on Sunday, a minimum of 2 hours. So really grueling. One of those sessions was just straight fitness, a few of them just drills and skills. So really demanding and really physical selection process. And we had 3 of those camps alongside of our current club national league. So we were training also 3 times a week for that. So as you can imagine, it got pretty busy. Every single weekend was pretty much just canoe polo. We were selected pretty early in the year. I think it was around the April-May time, and that was so that we could train together as much as we could. We selected a team of 9, which is usually quite unorthodox. For canoe polo, you're only allowed 8 players on the water at a time, 5 playing and 3 sub. If you have a 9th player, they have to sit off the water, helping carry on the water and stuff like this. We selected 9 for the reason that our 8th and 9th player, we couldn't decide on well, our coach couldn't decide on who they wanted. They were both very equally skilled players, and both had very different skill set to offer. So through the year, we had 3 or 4 training camps to kind of decide on who we wanted to take, or who the team thought fit better in with the team, who the coach thought. So throughout the year, through winter, we were still out on the lagoon, training in the middle of winter at the 1 or 2 degree water temperatures. And yeah, going pretty 100% on just working for each other and working for the team to become the best people we could be for the Worlds. Through these training camps, we invited people from the men's squad to verse us, to play us, so that we could gain experience from the older players. We also invited some younger club members who were also going to China for a different development tour to come play us, so that they could get some experience off us. And it was profoundly quite a community-based thing. It was really cool to have some of the new and up-and-coming developing players that may not have quite made the trials, but had a different opportunity from the club to also go overseas and compete overseas, which was really cool. Now, your funding really helped me through this time specifically. A lot of our players were working full-time, including me. And a lot of my teammates had to sacrifice training time and time on the water to be able to work, so that they could pay for getting over there and playing. With your funding, it really helped me solidify the fact that I would have enough money, and so that I could fully focus on training and trialing and doing my best. I think at my peak, I was gymming 3, if not 4 times a week, playing polo 4, if not 5 times a week, and swimming at the local pool 2 or 3 times a week. It was a very, very, very grueling and arduous task, to say the least. But because I was able to not cut back on some of my hours, but I didn't have to work over 40 hours to supply funding, due to your funding, it made it just that little bit easier. So I really, really appreciate it. Now on to the actual event itself. On October the 5th, we flew out of Palmerston North to Auckland, Auckland to Singapore, Singapore to Shanghai, and then from Shanghai we drove to Daking, China, which is where the Canoe Polo World Championships was held. Overall, that was 30 plus hours of traveling. It was not fun. No, but it wasn't, the actual travel itself wasn't fun, but being with the 8 other players that had been selected alongside you to represent New Zealand, and we were wearing exactly this, our New Zealand formal gear with our tracksuit bottoms. It made it a really special journey. We had people coming up to us and asking us, what is canoe polo? We had people coming up and asking to us like what we're doing, how we are. We had people in Singapore that were New Zealanders come up to us and have a yarn just because they were Kiwi. It was really quite special, and even overseas you could feel like home because we were wearing the New Zealand fern and we were there amongst it. It was really, really cool. When we got to Daking, we expected our boats to be there as well. Unfortunately, the Chinese have a holiday, a China National Day, which lasts a week. And our boats were supposed to be freighted during that week, but nobody works, not even the corner store. Nobody works during that week of holiday. So our boats didn't get there until 3 days later, which was really quite annoying. We were expecting to be on the water 3 or 4 days prior to the competition. Unfortunately, because of the boats not being there, we were unable to. And so we had to resort to just gymming and running as much as we could, basically in the week prior to Worlds. Fortunately, as soon as this holiday was finished, we got our boats and we were straight on the water. Our boats got there. My brand new boat got there and we put it together, and literally half an hour later, we were on the water training together. It was really quite special. Prior to Worlds, we tried to organize some friendly matches against some of the other international teams. We got quite fortunate to organize one with Portugal, who didn't have any of their boats arrive at all, so they had to hire some, and had to use some of our own spare paddles so that we could verse them. So we had to kind of arrange that with them, which was really quite, that game was really quite interesting, a very eye-opening experience of what different styles of international canoe polo could look like. We then also had a training game against Denmark, and they were one of the world-renowned top 4 teams, probably one of our bigger challenges. And that again was another very eye-opening experience because it was completely opposite of the way that Portugal played, and the complete opposite of how New Zealand played. It was quick adjustments, to say the least. We also then had a friendly match against the Chinese Taipei, but due to all of the courts being booked out by other people who had already had matches, we went to one of the warm-up goals and played basically half court, offense, defense. So we took it in turns playing offense against their defense. They took it in turns playing offense against our defense. This was a really, really awesome way to get back into canoe polo, especially after having probably a week and a half break because our boats weren't there, and straight into the highest level of canoe polo there is. The world champs, they started a day or two after that that training match with the Chinese Taipei. They were on the 13th of October, I believe, we started. And it ran for a week until the 20th of October for us. We were split into 4 pools of 5. In our pool, we had Germany, Switzerland, Japan, and Singapore. The way that it worked is we did a round robin style of game. So we versed everyone in our pool, and the top 3 teams went through to the next. And they got split into top pool and bottom pool, basically. That left 12 teams to go through. Fortunately, that we were one of them, winning all of our games other than against Germany, who placed second the Worlds prior. We got into that top 12 and were split into 2 pools of 6, and again had another round robin style of game, and we had to win all but one of them to place into the semi-finals. Our first game was awesome against Portugal. We beat them. It was a really, really awesome game. The boys were playing well the whole Worlds, doing an incredible job. And then we versed France, who I believe won the year prior. So unfortunately, we took a loss there. And then we played Belgium, who we were up by 2 with the last 30 seconds to go, and with a few very unfortunate ref calls and miscommunication between our team and the refs calls, we unfortunately got 3 green cards very consecutively for illegal subbing and a foul that I don't think happened. And unfortunately, we had to forfeit the match despite being up by 2 with 30 seconds to go, which means we automatically lost by 7-0, which is a massive, massive bummer, especially for a team that needed to win that game and needed that game to go through. Unfortunately, due to that game, we were pushed into the bottom 4. So there was the top 4 first to 4th, and then the bottom set 5th to 8th. Due to our spirits being pretty broken, when we versed Denmark, we weren't fully in it, despite keeping them drawn and even going up against them a couple of times. They came away with a win in the last minute or so. That's the way sports goes. And then we tied with Great Britain. Now, the tie with Great Britain was very, very important because it actually sent Denmark into the semi-finals. If we had lost to them, Denmark would have been where we were. So they were pretty much our best mates after that. So unfortunately, due to the results, we were automatically placed in the 7th and 8th playoff, where we versed Germany, which was a massive surprise to us because the year prior, Germany had come 2nd. And Germany are usually a massive powerhouse of canoe polo. Due to their experience and us having a younger team, unfortunately, again, we lost that. They were just a little bit more in it and more keen to win it than us, I believe. And they had some incredible players. So unfortunately, we placed 8th. Overall, though, the experience was incredible to play that level of canoe polo. With a group of lads only my age. I'm 18 and had only turned 18. Well, I'm about to turn 19. And the next oldest in our team was 20, and there was only one person that was 20 years old in our team. In an under 21s grade, where the whole of the competition were either 20 had turned 21 already, 20 or 19, we had by far the youngest team in that top 8 teams. That means that in 2 years' time, it is looking very good for us. We have a group of boys that have experience playing Worlds and experience playing international canoe polo, and only 1 out of our 9 players are aging out of the age group. So in 2 years' time, if everyone sticks around and everyone's keen and everyone trains, everyone has the money, we will have a very, very, very strong team for Germany.
Awesome. Thanks, Kai. Well done. That's amazing. But you know, apart from the fact, yes, you would have liked to have got further up on the scoreboard, but what an experience. And like you say, what you've learnt out of that to take forward to the next round. So we wish you well with that. And so the other members in your team, are they from all over New Zealand?
So usually, yes. We have people from all over New Zealand trial, but it just so happened that we had 7 players from Palmerston North and only 2 from Hawke's Bay.
Great.
And none from our age group from Auckland and none from the South Island. We did have aspected 3 from the South Island that could have trained, but it was their first year of university. And so they chose to focus on their university.
Yeah, that's great. So that would have been a huge help. Well, thank you. We wish you all the best for the future with the canoe polo and look forward to seeing your name in the team next time round. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, welcome up, Amy. Amy is no stranger to council and presenting with her amazing track record. This time representing the district in the World's Ironman Champs back in December. So tell us all about it.
I'm going to show you a Prior medal.
Oh, absolutely.
It's my
Look at the size of it.
They put it around your neck when you finish. So I clearly represent the other end of the
Can you
age
pass
group.
that around, please?
Sure.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, I obviously represent the other end of the age group here.
Which is great.
Is it green? Yeah. So yes, the mayor said, and I know quite a few of you, quite a few familiar faces. I don't know how many times I've had a representative grant. I feel so fortunate. I think this is my 7th World Championship with in between the full Ironman distance and the half Ironman distance, obviously Ironman being a triathlon. This one was so special because it was in New Zealand. Now, just to give you a quick explanation of that, an Ironman is a very long triathlon and a half Ironman is still a very long triathlon. But it's kind of in the world of, in the endurance world, it's almost like a sprint. It's like you've got to go long, but you've got to go fast. So it's a very, very hard race. And the older you get, the harder it gets. So the World Championships for the half Ironman go around the world. And for New Zealand to have secured the World Championship was literally a coup. Like nobody thought it would ever come here. So, and to be in Taupō as well was just amazing. So for all of us, you know, from anywhere in New Zealand, pretty much get to Taupō fairly quickly. So these World Champs were planned for December 2020, but we all know what was happening in December 2020. So it moved to December 2024. I qualified for the race in 2019. So this has been a 5-year wait.
Wow. As
I got older every year. And I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm going to do it. But yep, we got to the start line and it again, it's like I was talking about, age is everything. So, you know, when you're 18, when you're 21, it's beneficial, you know, to be 21 rather than 18. But when you're in the 55 to 59 age group, it's not beneficial to be 59, right? So there I am on the start line at the swim, and the swim is my best discipline. And I'm talking to my arch rival, who's a Kiwi lady who's very strong. And I said, what do you reckon? What do you reckon, Kerry? She went, she's the same age as me, 20th? And I was like, yeah, I think that's fair. It's very sharp group, very fast women. The European ladies and the American ladies literally do this professionally, even though they're not professionals. They train and train and train and train and don't work. A lot of women like that. They do it as as a job, really, without getting paid. Okay, so there we are, top 20. I'm stronger than her in the swim, and she says to me, I think I might try and find your feet, which means I'm going to get behind you and I'm going to stick to your feet so you can drag me around. And I thought, no way, no way. So I shot to the front and I started first. Like, there's all these women behind me. There's 216 women in my age group. And I'm right at the front going, under it. Wrapped to the swim, got third in the swim in the world, which I'm really, really pleased about. Got onto the bike as quickly as I could. I was 9th off the bike. So I'm thinking, okay, yeah. And then quite a few people caught me up and I ended up 22nd, but that was 22nd out of 216 registered, I think 176 raced. So I think that put me in about top 13%, which for an old girl, 59 and 59, 55, I was quite stoked with that. So amazing event. Absolutely amazing. 6,000 athletes over the weekend, 56 countries, big New Zealand team, big Oceania team. The slogan for the event, Ironman always has a slogan, Tui Tuia, which some will know means bound together, united together, like on a string. And that's how it felt. It was very flags everywhere, beautiful, amazingly organized. You're running down Lake Terrace, coming back into town, and it's just a sea of people and flags and languages and energy. It was just fabulous. So the grant was amazing. Everything is so expensive. You only have to touch something in triathlon and it's, $200. I think standing there at the swim start was me, in your $2,000 worth of kit. Then, I go to my bike and that's, $10,000. And then it's all money. But it was the thing that was the most amazing for me is I am a coach, a triathlon coach. I had 2 women racing with me that day from this district for New Zealand, which is just blows me. So amazing. Cheryl Hirschberg, who is older than me, she's 2 years older. She also got a grant. They're from Apathy, and Charlotte Gillespie she didn't know about this. And they're from that family. Lance and Catherine are from Bunnythorpe. So a lot of people know them. So that was extremely special to have that. Wow. The trickiest part for me of the whole event was that this event wasn't meant to be this year. It was meant to be back in 2020. This year, I'm training for an ultra trail it's called a miler, and it's a 160-kilometer run in the Taraweras. And so I had to train for that event and the triathlon at the same time. This running race is in 2 weeks, is in 10 days time. So that was the trickiest part of the whole thing. But I was rapt that I was still able to tick the box, which was really just to finish strong, have a great race, bring in the quality. I'm all about the quality of what we do rather than the quantity. And then the quality of the race brings the result and not the other way around. When we chase that time, when we chase that quantity, it never works. It always backfires. So I'm eternally grateful for your support. A lot of you see me, people say to me every day, I saw you running and I saw you biking. So obviously they can see me around the district. I use all the resources. I'm in Kitchener, I'm at Ko-Fi, I'm at the pool, I'm, up in the hills. So, yeah, really, really grateful. In terms of where am I at, there's still lots of triathlon ahead of me. The great thing is the age after 59 is 60. So I get into the 60 to 64, which means I could be the youngest in the group again. And when I get there, then I'm planning to go to the Ironman World Championships in Nice. So when I'm 60, so that's my next goal. So there you go.
Wow, you make me feel tired. That's outstanding. Yeah, you've had an outstanding sporting career, and there's still lots to go. So that's amazing. So overall, in that Ironman World Champs, what was your position in the
22nd out of? There were 260 women registered, 176 turned up. So it's top. It's 13%, I think the number is. I worked it out really quickly when I finished. Got the calculator out. I'm competitive with myself. Yeah. The other lady
Outstanding.
came 18th, so that's a little bit,
Yeah.
she was a little bit faster than
Oh,
me.
well.
She passed me on the run and I was just, okay, I can't go any faster.
That's awesome. Time for one question. Anyone have a question of Amy? Councillor Short.
Thank you. Well done. It was interesting that, you know, being in New Zealand, I know you've been to Hawaii and lots of other places before where the swim has been in the sea.
Mhm.
Did you find it beneficial, the swim being in a lake compared to swimming in the ocean? I remember you telling us once about your
Yeah.
fear of sharks.
Yeah, well, there's a taniwha in there. You've got to take that into account. It is in there. I see it. I love the water and I actually love the sea, and I'm even more competitive in the sea because it's harder to swim in the sea. Just with waves and things, you know, and currents and things like that. But it is beautiful. It is the most amazing experience to swim in that lake. It's got to be one of the most beautiful places to swim in, but just to the clarity. You know, you're swimming, it's just, I can't explain it. It's just like heaven swimming there. But you do get to wear a wetsuit. So in water that's colder, even though the water was quite pleasant, you're still allowed to wear a wetsuit, and that is beneficial because you're kind of more like a seal, you know, kind of more like a seal. You know, you're more sort of, you know, smooth. So that's the only benefit, but I'm probably as a swimmer more competitive in seawater, in warm seawater like Hawaii, where if you wore a wetsuit, you would literally melt. It's just too hot. Because it's harder. It's harder. So it's sort of 6 of one, a half a dozen the other. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was a absolute privilege to be able to help you in a small way. Well done. We wish you all the best for the goals, and you can hear the passion. So we wish you all the best, and thank you for coming today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Right. Is Kayla with us? Can somebody check if Kayla is here? She may be out in the.
I'm looking forward to hearing about Alan Williams' sporting accomplishments.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yes. Okay, Kayla's not here just yet, so we will carry on until she joins us. There are no late items this morning, no recommendations from committees and non-council meetings. So we'll move to 9.1. This is an opportunity for elected members to give us an update as liaison councillors for our various community committees. Some are still getting into the meeting round for the new year, but let's start. Councillor Quarry, you've got Cheltenham and Himitangi Beach.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, Cheltenham's ticking along. They're meeting every 3 months. We didn't have a meeting on the 4th of February, but we had a meeting pre-Christmas. Yeah, so they're ticking along. Himitangi, they are on full steam. The Christmas period is a very, very busy period. There's been a lot of visitors to Himitangi. They were very appreciative of the cleaning of the sand or removal of the sand for the access down onto the beach. Without that removal, it creates all sorts of problems in regard to health and safety, being able to access emergency vehicles onto the beach when and if they're required. There's a little bit of an issue about signage. They'd like some signage corrected and repaired. It makes life easier for people, visitors, especially attending activities on the beach if there's reasonable signage so they can see where to go and where to stay away from. They have a project in regard to a viewing platform. So that should take up any surplus money that Himitangi have on hand. But yeah, they're quite happy with the way things are going.
Excellent, thank you. Councillor Blackmore's not here, but Councillor Ford, did you attend that Colleton meeting?
Yes, I did.
Thank you. If you could give us an update there and Kiwatea.
I guess the highlight was we had the landscape designer, an external person, come out with James, and we sort of met at the Colleton Crossroads corner, and we walked up and down the road, etc., and discussed what might go where. So there was a lot of enthusiasm and as part of the beautification, and then we went back and had a meeting. I think I'll leave it there. It was basically a happy group. It's good and a lot of enthusiasm for this beautification.
Great. Thank you. Kiwatia?
Yes. Once again, a good meeting. We had Hannah Takona come out with the emergency management booklets, the specific to Kiwatia, the magazines. So that was really good. We had Helen King there, who added a lot of value, useful explanations, and is about with Janine and others to take the group through the community plan process, which is exciting. They're working on some painting, internal, external, and still working on the toilets. So a good group, good turnout, and all going well.
Excellent. Councillor McFadden, Halcombe.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, we had Matt came out and to talk around the new planning process and how they were keen to work with Halcombe to actually model the future for the village around trigger points, and that was well received. And the committee committed to it. The committee agreed that they would actually go down that path and thought it was a good positive move. They also had some engagement from Amber, who's the chairwoman from the Taumata Aotearoa Marae, who's now going to start attending the Halcombe community meetings, which is a positive move to get them working together. Other than that, it's just they're working through the year planning and also working towards their Anzac event.
Excellent, thank you. Rongatia, Councillor Underwood.
I think the Rongatia meeting was postponed for 1 week.
Okay, thank you. And Youth Council, any Councillor Short, you were able to be there?
Yes, I attended. Lara did actually attend as well, but she booked me in case she couldn't make it. So first meeting of the year. So at the end of last year, they had a number of their members have left if they've gone on to university and moving away from the district. So they had 5 brand new youth councillors. At their next meeting, they're going to elect a new chairperson. So Lara actually ran the meeting, which was a fairly informal meeting, just educating particularly the new ones about how council works. So Ash attended and talked about what is governance and what is operational. Janine attended and covered Joey's slot. Joey was unable to make it because Joey's just got married, or getting married today, was it? Yes, very exciting. And Gerald attended and gave them an education session on the lay of the land for marae in our district, and they really enjoyed that. That was a good session. And then I talked about a day in the life of a councillor. So, yeah, and of course there was pizza, so that's always good.
Great, thank you. So that's everyone's got off to a good start, which also leads us into opportunity for our marae liaison councillors. I know over the festive season there was an opportunity for you to make contact with the chair of each of the marae and hapu groups and set up how you're going to continue meeting for the year. So just keen to get a very quick update on where you're at. Councillor Quarry, Aorangi.
Thank you, Your Worship. Excuse me. Yeah, I sort of sat down on a low profile over Christmas.
Sure.
I've rung Mihana and yeah, we haven't sort of contacted yet, but we'll be getting onto that shortly.
Excellent. Thank you. Deputy Mayor Ford, co-whātara.
Thank you. Yep. After a bit of a a delay in getting a response. I've been in contact with Kelly Lawton, the chair of Kaupapa Marae, yesterday, which is great, and we are meeting next week for the first time. So I'm very enthusiastic about that and going forward. And I did forward him the details of the Akona workshop on Marae emergency preparedness and resilience. So nothing really to report except that we are meeting next week.
Excellent. Thank you. Councillor Short, Parawahawaha.
Thank you. So the chair of Parawahawaha is Cliff Brown. Cliff and I met in the middle of December, and we've decided to just have a coffee catch up every 2 months initially, see how things are going. What's topical for them at the moment? The Defence Force have applied for a global earthworks consent, which a lot of that's in the PFAS area, etc. And as the government often does, they approach statutorily acknowledged iwi first. So they've been, as has happened before with the Defence Force, they've been to Rangatane and Ngāti Apa and forgot to go to Parawahawaha. Anyway, they're working through that. They've also got quite a watching brief with Horizons on the management of the river. The Lower Rangatiki River scheme money is largely exhausted, and there's things that need doing, but there's no funding in which to do it. So that's something that I will see if I can be helpful in some small way. And then their project on site on the marae was increasing on site water storage, and otherwise they seem to be in really good stead.
Great, thank you. Councillor Hadfield. Now I need to get the correct pronunciation for this marae.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. Yes, I made touch base with Francis late December. So we have actually had that first meeting, and we agreed to catch up again in February.
Excellent.
So I've made contact and I'm waiting a response.
Thank you. Can we all learn the pronunciation for this marae? Someone help us. Alison, you might know.
Well, we should ask Bridget online.
Oh, Bridget. Of course, Bridget's here with us. Yes,
There's
Bridget.
a formal name and a casual name.
Okay. Bridget, can you give us, she's disappeared.
Sorry, I can only work one at the time, either the video or the mic.
Oh, okay.
So my
Okay.
video's off, but I'm here. Po patatia, po pa ta tia.
Okay. Almost exactly as it's spelt. So,
But affectionately known as Popet.
Popat. Okay. Thank you. Right. Thank you. Councillor Campbell, Rangamari.
Yes, I tried to make contact with Wiremu. We haven't got in touch with them yet, so I'll follow that one up.
Excellent. Taumata is Councillor McFadgen.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I met with Amber and had coffee for a couple of hours, which was very positive. We talked about what we're wanting to both achieve, and I've been invited to the marae on Sunday for lunch to meet with them and just talk to them generally about how we're going to work together, what the role is of the council. No doubt they'll have some questions. And from that, I believe then that we'll have a more structured meeting going forward. We've also talked about actually the wanting to bring the two communities together in the sense of the marae and the rest of the community, which is a willingness. There's some past history, which is not, which around the building of the marae, and we're working as a plan to try and sort of settle that down. But anyway, made a good positive start. Just hope I'm not the lunch on Sunday.
Great. Councillor Belsky, Te Hirihi Marae.
Yeah, I made an arrangement to meet Tania at the, or she asked me to meet her at the construction site at Ashurst in her office. And Mary came with me for the day. And when she found out Mary was in the car, she insisted Mary come in and join in the meet and greet session. It was really nice. And we've arranged to meet again. I said early February, but she said early February was a bit tied up. So maybe a late February, early March, because a lot of my Saturdays are actually booked up. So we'll see how we go there, but we've certainly had a great little introduction. So it was good.
Excellent. Councillor Underwood, Titi Kanga Marae.
I'm yet to make contact.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Blackmore's away today, so we will get an update next time. That's great. We've made those connections and then we can move forward and work together, which is excellent. Right, so Kayla has not joined us. No, no. Okay, that's fine. We will move on. Let's move into our officers' reports. 10.1, we're on page 20, and this is our annual plan update. So you have the paper in front of you. There was also the update, summary and supplementary information, and then we also received more information through Lynn late yesterday.
Yeah. No, I can't reach the ground.
So welcome, Amanda and David. Shane, hand it over to you.
Thank you, Worship, councillors. So this is a, excuse me, this is an update of where we're at with our annual plan. So following the decisions you've made around initiatives being included or not in the annual plan, the team's done some work. Amanda will step you through the report. But really now we sort of have to get to the stage where we're making a decision on what's in or out and where we land. We have also in a fortnight to make a decision on consultation. I would suggest what's in and what's out probably will inform that, although there's nothing startling in there that would sort of lead me to think we will be going down that path, but we'll talk about that in 2 weeks. So I'll hand over to Amanda. She can take us through the report and we'll see where we get to.
Thank you. I'm actually going to hand over to David. It's called Pass the Buck. So David predominantly wrote this report, so I'll hand over to him and jump in as needed. Do you want to pass that down, Shane?
Thanks, David.
Damn, I thought I'd skip the presentation. So this report is pretty much just seeking continuation of support for the initiatives that Council signalled support for on the 21st of November. What we did after that paper was Amanda's team went away and basically ran those initiatives through the budget. So now we have a proposed budget kind of position. I'll run through that very quickly. It's outlined in paragraph 2.4 of the report. But pretty much the adjusted LTP starting point was 5.2% rates, increase in rates. With those initiatives that we have listed in the recommendations, that adds another 1.08% to that number. So for existing ratepayers, that's 6.29% increase in rates. Added to that, we have some new levies that the kind government has put on us. So that's for the Commerce Commission and for Three Waters. So that adds another 0.34%. That's about them kind of overseeing certain things in those areas. And then you add to that another 1.57 in terms of the growth in the ratepayer base. And that ends up with overall a growth in rates of 8.2%. So that's the kind of the increase in rates. I guess the key number there is 6.29, which is the growth in rates for existing ratepayers compared to what we had in the LTP. Just adding to that, in April, of course, you will make a decision on development contributions policies. Depending on what decision you reach there, if we decide to assess in that growth program the contribution that those projects make to levels of service, that might actually increase rates by another 1%. So just keep that in the back of your mind too. So today we're just wanting to confirm that the support you indicated back in November, you are happy with that because it does add 1.08% to that rates number. Once we've got that direction, we will come back in 2 weeks, as Shane said, to to get a decision on whether we consult or not. As Shane said, early indications now are there's nothing in that would trigger the significance and engagement policy or require the need to consult, but ultimately that's a decision for you as council. And then after that, or what we can do from today is once we get confirmation that you support these projects still, we will start doing the detailed work, drafting up the annual plan so it can be approved well in time for June 30. That's my introduction.
So councillors, just to take you through that, and David's given a good overview there. And just to make a few points, 2.4 table I'm referring to. 5.21 is we've started, as David said, 1.08 added, which gets us to a position of 6.29. We don't have to include the 0.34 in our rates percentage because it's a government levy. It's excluded from that. But the reality is the ratepayers will pay it. So there is an impact, but we just don't have to include it in our figure. I'm sorry, in our rate cap figure. The other point is that, and David alluded to the DCs, and we'll talk about those shortly. But I guess that what this comes down to is the council's appetite for a 6.29% rate rise. And if there is a desire that that's too high and we need to look at coming down, then we need to turn our mind back to 3.2, which is the initiatives that you approved last year to be included in the annual plan. And you need to make some decisions on whether they are still going to be in, because one way of getting that figure down, of course, is to remove some of those initiatives. What the team has done helpfully has set out those initiatives and whether they're a CapEx impact or a rates impact. So you'll see really what makes a difference to the rates impact largely is the rates figures. So that's a discussion for today, and that will actually impact on your recommendations. So, you know, after the discussion, we will need to work through each of those recommendations, and you'll have to decide whether you want them in or you want them out, depending on your conversation around a palatable percentage. I'll just quickly touch on the DC discussion, which is coming up in a couple of months following submissions that we'll get from there. And one of the options on the table, of course, is to apply a rates component to the growth. Well, actually, it's the non-growth component of those projects. And that, as David said, is about 1%. I think it's about 0.9 or close to 1%. We'll say 1, which is 470, about 470K. One way of offsetting that so it doesn't hit our rates.
Try again.
Sorry, you're stepping in.
Yeah.
Sorry,
This
we'll come-
technology's stupid, isn't it?
We'll come up with
One way of looking at that is to, and we've listed it in 2.6 and 2.7. You'll see that in 2.6, that is the resilience reserve that we run, and currently it's sitting at about 1.2 mil. And we were proposing to increase that by 71K in the next year. The other reserve is the insurance reserve, which is sitting at 940K, and we were planning to increase that by 280. We could not increase either of those reserves, use what we were proposing next year to top those reserves up, and some of the reserves to offset any DC amount. So that would be one way of having a nil impact on our rate percentage. So that's for 1 year. Yeah, then we have to figure out what we're going to do the following year. So there'll be next annual plan. But that's one way of being able to do that. So you could, if that was acceptable, have a nil impact on the rates percentage through decisions you make with DCs, but that's yet to come. But just bear that in mind when you have a discussion around your rates percentage. If you don't accept that, then of course it will impact on that rate 6.29. So I don't think I've got much more to add. That's about it, isn't it?
Thank you. Is there any,
Yeah.
sorry,
So I just got to point out that using these reserves is a 1-year fix.
yeah, it just pushes the
And then all
problem
we're
out.
really doing is kicking the can down the road. So, but you know, there are other things next year maybe we could not do that we will have to look at. But this is a solution for the next
Yeah,
25,
except
26.
appreciating, as we're now seeing, that every year there are new stuff that pop up to be considered.
That's right.
Is there any questions so far before we go in on to 3.2 and go through each of those initiatives? Councillor Underwood.
You talked about a 6.29% increase being palatable or not, but what's this a growth 1.57 added onto that and the 8.2, where does that fit in? Is the 8.2 the actual rates increase we're looking at?
Okay, so just referring you back to when we calculate our rates cap, what we're in essence trying to do is say each year, year on year, there's a growth of extra numbers of people in the district, not people, properties in the district, and that's what we call growth. So from one year to another, through the LTP assumptions, we assume that each year or next year, the number of properties that we will have increased in from the year before is 1.5%. So what we say is if we were to not increase our budgets at all and we needed the same amount of rates every year, in essence, the people in the district would be paying less each year because there were more people to pay for the pie. So we're accounting for the fact that the pie, that the people that are paying, there's getting more of them. So what we're saying is if the district is growing by 1.5%, that increase in your budget is covered by the extra amount of people, not by the existing people. Am I explaining that well? So what we're trying to explain is the rates increase for your existing ratepayer base is 6.29% because you've got an extra 1.5% of people in the district. So although the total rates that we require, if all of these things were in it, is 8.2%, the impact on the existing ratepayers is only around the 6.2% because you've got more people.
Yes, okay, I understand that sort of backwards, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of, yeah. I mean, technically it's 6.63 because the levies that are coming through from, I want to say this wrong, Te Manawatū, I've got that wrong, and the Commerce Commission adds about 0.34%, and everyone's going to pay that anyway. So that is still an increase on the ratepayers. But according to our rates cap that we said government initiatives, levies, were outside of our rates cap.
Could I just?
Sure.
So the 1.57% there is based on history, but it may not come to fruition.
Absolutely. I think it came through from Infometrics. I think, yeah, it came through from Infometrics assumptions. That is what you agreed during the LTP. We see more than that. And I know that's quite interesting. I see the rating database come through and some years it's 1.8. It just depends on the number of subdivisions and the growth that's actually happening. But 1.5% is what we've assumed through the LTP. 1.57.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Campbell.
Thanks. You've asked about appetite for rates increase. Obviously, we'd never have a wonderful appetite for large rates increases. I refer back to a comment I made, must have been November, I think it was, about this comparing our rates rise to the CPI. And when we were adopting the LTP through September, December 23, that would have been, the CPI was running at about 5 to 6%. So in the context of that, a 6% rate rise now was, comparable. But of course, things have changed since then, and the CPI is now running at 2.2%. So for us to go out now with a 6.63 rate rise, that's 3 times inflation. And I don't think that's going to be particularly palatable for our community. So I think we've got a little bit of work to do. I certainly don't have an appetite for a figure that high. You know, I'd like to see it no more than, well, even if it's 4.4, that's double the CPI. And that would, to me, would be the top level, but that would mean that we'd need to find a couple 100,000 savings somewhere out of rates. How we do that, I don't know, but I suggest we've got a little bit of work to do.
So I guess the other question, and maybe Councillor Campbell, you could start that. What's your appetite in regards to Shane's suggestion about the resilience and the self-insurance reserve?
Well, that's one option to look at, yes.
Except that it just shifts the problem to next year.
That's right.
You
Shane.
also just in response to Councillor Campbell's, you know, what he's talking about is not a couple $100,000. It's 2%. It's $1 million. And to pull $1 million out of our current budgets, that is a complete rework of levels of service. There is not the money to pull out, which means an amended LTP. We're just not in a position to find those sorts of savings. I mean, for us to hit the 5% mark, I thought was a pretty good achievement for us to, you know, to be at 5.21. And that's where we were at until council added a whole lot more initiatives in part of this annual plan. So the ball's in your court as to what's in and what's out. Yeah. But to go from 5.21 down to 4.4, bearing in mind that the reason why we've got a lot of, we're at a higher rate, is a lot of our loans are fixed at higher interest rates than what the current CPI is. Yeah. And so we have to service those loans, and they don't change until they come up for renewal. So unfortunately, we don't see the dramatic drop quickly that CPI does.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing is we've got our capital program that we're running as well. So, but that's the main thing. You know, we've got a lot of interest running at higher rates than way higher rates than 2.2. So.
Thank you, Councillor Ford.
Yeah, thank you. I have a slightly greater appetite than Councillor Campbell, and if you look at the two of us, anyone could sort of see that. Fairly obvious. So my I would like the rates increase, the 6.29 to drop to under 6%. So if it starts with a 5, I can probably live with that. So that means we need to drop 0.3%. And I think there's ways of doing that, which we'll come to in a minute, no doubt. I support using depending on our DC decision, of course. But if we do go for, I think it's option 2, where some of what have previously been DCs will become rates. If we go to that, which I hope we do, I support using the resilience and insurance reserves. So thank you for giving us that option to consider. And I also accept that new government levies should be treated separately. And so I'm comfortable that is the 0.34% approximately is on top. And I completely accept the growth component being separate. My questions, so as we come to how do we find the 0.3%, to satisfy me anyway, we've got an update business case from the Fielding Civic Centre Trust, which we got last night. So there's perhaps some potential there. And my question really relates to the roading one, subsidised roading, and the possibility of pushing that out and to still get our local share of subsidy. But if we push that out to year 3 or something like that, is that a way that we could reduce our rates increase this year?
So I had that conversation with Hamish before he went on leave, and his suggestion was we could do that. John might be able to elaborate, but Hamish said, you know, we could push that 187 out to year 3 of the NZTA funding round. Is that right, John? So there's currently on the subsidised roading renewals, because the local share was underfunded, there's a request for an extra 187,000 for rates. Hamish was of the view that we could push that out to year 3.
That would mean shoving out the bridge structural components to year 3, because that's the only renewals we got.
I don't.
Apart from rehabs and resales.
Yeah. This is the additional 187 though.
Yeah, but that's to meet the budget that was approved by
NZTA.
the TA,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which was minimal.
Mm.
So I don't mind. But you're just creating a bow wave.
Yeah. Yeah.
Without a doubt, but you're putting it into a year potentially that we have a bit more capacity.
Yeah, and I think the concern that I have is that while on one hand it's easy to say, let's carry that forward to year 2 or 3, the problem is, as we know, every year you get new initiatives. Unless we absolutely say no new initiatives will be acceptable, but a lot of these new initiatives have come from our own internal work. So you are going to have new initiatives every year to consider. So yeah, the concern I have is when you push this stuff out, it just creates another problem for another day and another LTP. Councillor McFadden.
Thank you, Worship. To pick up with for Councillor Campbell, I mean, we went through the initiatives, we spent a lot of time, it's 1.08 million, that's 2%. I really don't have an appetite for having agreed that to go back round again to take 2% off the rates. It's either the right decision or it's the wrong decision. I also have an appetite for less than 6%, but also got to be realistic that there's not much point in just moving the chairs on the Titanic.
Yeah.
And finally, I would like to understand what the cost of belonging to LGNZ is.
Do we have that figure? It's about 50-something thousand, isn't it?
Yes, without GST, it's around 50,000, 49 something or other, with GST, and also then you've got your conferences on top. So the membership itself is around 50K.
Thank you.
Can I just get on?
Councillor
So thanks. That was 56K last year. Do we have an indication of, given that there's been a number of councils withdraw, do we have an indication as to whether that's going to affect the rate going forward?
No, and I tried to find if there was and I couldn't find it.
Okay, so it's the 56 is not sort of, that's last year's figure rather than the future figure.
And that's the GST inclusive figure.
Yeah, that's fine. So at 50,000 plus attendance costs, it could be 70, 80,000, and then it could go up more.
We've spent more. I think I went back and had a quick look. A conference fee is around $1,500, including GST, as a general conference fee. We have sent up to 6 people in the past, but actually haven't done that very regularly. And if you put in travel and accommodation, probably a conference for a person is about 2,500. So I wouldn't say we'd be adding 20K on top of 50.
But of course, then we also have the regional ones we go to.
Yep. Depending on how you travel, I mean, there's not a lot of cost generally to do regional ones. You know, you've got your pool car or your reimbursement. There's no fee for that. So yeah, it's not particularly expensive.
I'm just trying to get a figure. So maybe around 75 plus or minus.
I'd say 50 to 65. 50 is your subscription excluding GST, and then 10 to 15 maybe.
So that is conversation later in March. We will get the new invoice from LGNZ, and it is a discussion that we may wish to put on the table and make a decision around whether we continue or not. Councillor Quarry.
Thank you, Your Worship. The government levies for 3.34% are Three Waters levies. I take it that only those ratepayers that receive a water supply will in fact pay that. So their rate increase would be 0.6 on that alone.
Yes, so it's a connection levy. So only those connected to the water supply
would pay that.
Pay that.
Yeah, so those people instead of having a 0.3 increase on their rates, would be a 0.6 or.
Well, I don't think it'll be that much.
So I've put it through, we've taken and to be fair, these are levies that, as far as I still recall, and Lisa's probably more across this, they're out for consultation at the moment by the government, but we're assuming it'll happen. So, that's always a bit up in the air. So what we did there is we took the total cost and we divided it based on the asset base of the waters. So we divide it between stormwater, wastewater and water supply based on the asset base, because they haven't given us any guidelines. And then it's been rated through whatever mechanism those are. So yes, some of the waters themselves are on connected, which is, serviceable, connected or restricted. You'll have some flowing through to some of the schemes. Stormwater, there is a component of a general rate in the stormwater as well, but it's been rated the same way across that all our water services are. Technically, the calculation being consulted on from memory is actually a population-based fee that they're saying that they're going to push down to us, but we cannot charge on a population base. So we charge it based on the water.
Yeah, that was my point, that
makes
only
sense.
those receiving those services will end up paying. So
Because the
their
cost of the water services.
charge will be a lot higher than 0.3.
Yeah, so just to clarify that, the Te Mataroa charge is them recouping the regulators' costs that the government's now introduced. So, and the Commonwealth Commission one is them recouping costs that they will incur through setting up the economic regulator, which will come into, it will come into force as part of Bill 3 of the water reforms. And so the economic regulator will come in as soon as the bill's passed. So
I think we have to be careful as to who actually pays. It won't be a general blanket that pays, it's individual.
no, we've worked it out as a user pays.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Ford.
Yeah, thank you. I think we should be focusing on this year in particular. Yes, we need to look at the future, but I believe that there's going to be we have more scope in our plan in future years. So the focus should be about this next annual plan. And this year we've got a cost of living, people are hurting, the economy's tough, the government has a real back to basics focus and is watching councils on looking for low rates increases, etc. So I think we should be putting all our effort into getting it as low as we possibly can for this year, realistically. And if that means pushing something forward to year 2, year 3, I would be less worried about that.
Councillor Underwood.
Thank you. As for removing initiatives, it was always the understanding that we would have a chance to vote on whether these stayed in or out. And also the CapEx amounts do have a rates impact, but it's only to do with interest and depreciations. Do you know an approximate percentage of these figures that would?
So in totality, it comes to 1.08. I haven't gone down and said exactly what each one of those CapEx equates to, contributing to that, because I just felt that was a bit of a level of detail. I didn't think that you'd probably be looking to make a decision to know whether the clock tower was contributing $2,000 to the rates or not. It was about whether you want to upgrade the clock tower for 90K. So we do have that information, but it's, yeah.
So what I'm getting at is it would have to be a fairly significant amount of money to save the rates impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so thank you for that. I think there is, as Councillor Underwood said, we always intended to go back to these initiatives because some of them we've asked for more information, which we have now. Some of them have some updated progress on them, not all of them. Some of them are more straightforward than others. So I think we do need to take the opportunity to go through those and have the opportunity to raise any changes before we go to the recommendations. So if we start with the first one on page 24, the Feilding Civic Centre increase in grant. Now, This is a bit misleading because it's already in the rates. It's just coming from a different budget.
So this is already there in the budget. So this
Yeah.
is just a transfer of budget
Yeah.
from us to,
So it's not an increase
it's not an
in
increase.
rates.
No, it's
It's
not in
just
there.
shifting it from one. Okay, so
Yep.
that kind of takes care of that one. Unless anyone else differs. It's just coming from a different bucket.
It's only in there for transparency to mirror the resolutions that you did at the last council meeting.
Yep.
So that they're there in entirety.
Thank you. The second one was the request for up to 100,000. My understanding was this was around the sound system that was purchased, and this request was around some cost to have some tech people involved when the system is used, and we asked for some information on that, which we have received, although I can't seem to find the one that relates specifically to that one. And if I recall, the request is now
64,500.
64,500.
And it's spelled out there, it's for additional personnel.
Tech people.
Pardon?
It's not tech people.
No.
So it's
No.
marketing, promotions, and also some additional hours for the current
Yeah, well,
manager.
this is a complete change from what we were originally told it was for. We were asked to consider up to $100,000 to provide two part-time tech people to drive the new equipment that they had there. And we wanted more details because we couldn't figure out how you got to 100,000. But now that we have the information, it's changed for what it's to be used for. So we need to take that into account. And then note that it's not 100,000, it's 64,500. Councillor Hadfield.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. I think it's important that we actually look at the document that's been put in front of us for 64.5 grand rather than 100K. And I think there's two things here. Clearly, more support is needed in terms of the actual day-to-day running and attendance of the Civic Centre and the current workload on the manager. And the other thing is the additional staff member that's being asked for. It actually makes sense. And I think the poignant point in that is the impact in the next period, the impact that remedial work to the Civic Centre is actually going to have on their operations and their actual income that will be affected and impacted by that remedial work. So I actually think that the 64.5 is quite a reasonable request, and I'd support that.
Thank you. Any other comment, Councillor Ford?
So I'm 100% confused because if we needed $100,000 for tech people and now we don't, how does the tech stuff operate if we needed $100,000 worth of labour to operate it and now we don't, now there's no money? And okay, we've got the new letter today or last night from Mr. Alan Williams, who's in the back row. And while I can make sense, but I'm confused about the tech requirements and what we were told previously and how reliable that was, frankly, if suddenly we need 100,000 worth of tech support and now we don't. So can anyone shed some light?
Are we able to ask Mr. Williams, are you, given that you were the author, you've signed off that letter, you may be able to help us rather than delay this discussion?
Yes, well, obviously we've re-looked at their request for, well, I think it's pretty much self-explanatory now, but getting back to the tech thing, back in the day, back when we did ask for that increase, we were looking at bringing more productions into the theatre and requiring more tech people. So we did actually hire a tech person, because we funded it with a working capital in anticipation that this year we would get increasing grant. Unfortunately, the tech person didn't work out. It was released. And on further consideration of what work is going to have to be done in the civic centre now, we'll probably both require as much technical expertise, and the expertise we will need can be done by some of the trust members on a voluntary basis.
Thank you. So when you talk about some of the remedial work, can I maybe go to Lynn? So as the landlord of the building, are we planning to do some remedial work in this next financial year that will impact the ability of the trust to use it to for functions and therefore raise income?
So we've had a detailed seismic assessment done, and we're just working through what that means. And it may mean for the work will likely be planned for the down period for the civic, which will be between January and March next year. Okay. But it may mean that, and we're not sure yet, it may mean that the facility can't operate at the same capacity as it does now in terms of, for those large events, what it could hang from trusses. So we're not sure what the impact is going to be yet. It might have little impact this year, but we suspect that there will be some impact.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments? So we know that that figure requested is 64,500. Is there anyone wishing to speak against it or ask any questions around it? Councillor Underwood.
Just to clarify, so the equipment that this money is needed to run has already been purchased, the new equipment, is that correct?
So this money is not required to run any equipment. This is required for new positions or increase in hours for the operation of the
equipment.
Of the civic centre.
If you see the stand,
So this isn't tech support related.
Right. So the request has changed, and last night Lynn sent through an attachment which explains what it is for, but it's so the request has changed for what it's to be used for.
Okay. So it's just that more hours are needed to run the civic centre in its current form.
It's a combination of more hours needed for the current managers to increase her hours, but also an additional marketing and promotions position. I think that's on a part-time. So yeah, that's the guts of, well, that's what this money is for.
Okay, thanks.
Can I just make a comment? Currently, as it's been working with Carla managing the civic centre, she's always working extra hours than what she's been allocated. It's got busier and busier, and to look after our clients and customers, we need the facility manned longer hours. So she finishes at 1 o'clock. Really, we need someone to be there maybe until 3:30 in the afternoon. So the new position would suit maybe someone who's got children at school, so she can do those hours, office hours. So she'll work in conjunction with Carla manning the civic centre. So it gives the civic centre someone there from 9 in the morning, say 3:30 in the afternoon, which at the moment, as it stands, it finishes at 1. The hours aren't really long enough to look after inquiries, people coming to book leads and things like that. So it's the extra person for 20 hours a week.
Thank you. I guess part of my own thinking is, you know, when we were looking at the 100K, and in my mind, I thought, you know, even if we came halfway at 50K and the additional money was sourced from the fees that are charged for the events, and I'm still leaning that way. I'm wondering about capacity to be able to do that, so that in partnership with the Civic Centre Trust that we support the request, but at a slightly lesser level, with the trust looking to recoup the rest from increased fees and usage for the centre. But how realistic that is, given the information we've heard about possible remedial work being done. Okay, so we've had that discussion. We'll go back to the recommendation shortly. Right, the next one is FDP. This is, we've had an update on the CCTV. We, in principle, have support from the police. That information has come through. The project has now been divided into two parts so that we can make progress and get it up and running. Stage one was to be the wider town rather than the CBD. And the request has been for up to 25,000. This is for the maintenance of the cameras. And the keenness is just to get this project up and running, and stage one is ready to go. So is there anyone who has any questions around it or objects to that request for funding? Councillor Underwood.
I don't know if they've indicated why stage one is surveilling people entering and leaving rather than the business area would appear to be more important. That's where all the problems are, and that's what they're wanting to keep an eye on. I would think it seems to be around the wrong way, stage 1 and 2.
Thank you. My understanding is that this is a community CCTV system, and the so anything that happens anywhere in the town centre would be captured at entry exit points potentially. And also a lot more work needs to be done with the CBD businesses about what is their contribution towards the funding of something that more specifically supports them and their business.
I think the important thing here is really this is just a grant to the FDP for towards maintenance. The actual CCTV project is a project between FDP and the police. Council aren't involved in that project. All we wanted to do, and if you recall, you asked to see the MOU just to ensure that everything was in place and was ready to go. My understanding is that the police legal team and the police headquarters have signed that off, but it's yet to be signed, and I think that's imminent, and that, you know, it's all ready to go. How it's staged and everything else, council aren't involved in that. That's a matter for FDP and the police. As the mayor rightly said, this is through FDP. FDP own the cameras, and we're just contributing towards maintaining them.
Thank you. So moving on to the next two in regards to the clock tower, some of the council team, myself and FDP met yesterday to talk about funding opportunities, third-party funding opportunities around this. A funding application is going to CET for the clock tower lighting, and we're just getting a second quote for that. So we are pretty confident that CET would, if not cover the whole lot, quite a bit of it. And we have had indication from individuals and groups in the community around making a donation towards the clock repair. And we're just working through what are the levels of donation and what would people receive in return. Thinking back to what we did when we built the clock tower, we had names on tiles, etc., and there is still room in the archways to be able to do that. So the plan is to pull all that information together, go out to the community with a comms package, and the community as individuals and also to groups such as service clubs seeking donations. So so those figures that you have in there are set at maximum, but I'm confident that those total amounts would not be required completely via rates. So that's just an update on those two projects. I'm not sure if anyone has any other comments you want to add. No, great. Okay.
They are CapEx, though, aren't they?
They are CapEx, correct. Yes. The next one is at Kitchener Park. You'll remember that they got the grant and have planted significant number of plants. This request is to make sure that in the first couple of years as they get established that they are maintained and not taken over by weeds. So that is a request to cover that cost. And we at the last discussion, we kind of felt, well, the plants are there, now they're there and been invested in, they do need to be looked after if they're going to survive. So unless anyone's changed their view on that thinking, we can move on. The Fielding Cemetery grates to improve security. There was some questions last time around, was it possible to find other solutions that would be not as expensive, but I'm assuming that the answer is no, and the project is proposed as planned.
Got it down to 30.
Down to 30. Okay, so that figure there, or there's, yep. Thank you. Lynn, is there anything else to update on that one?
No, it's down to 30 and it's CapEx. So the rates impact is very minimal.
Thank you. Yeah. The cemetery capacity, this is one that could be deferred, even though it is a CapEx. It is something that we agreed needed to be done. It's just, are we adamant that it needs to be done in the next financial year, or could it be deferred till the following?
We could probably place a ban on death for the next couple of years or something like that.
One way to handle it.
Your Worship, in the context of the budget, a $27,000 CapEx item's going to give us an insignificant difference. And I know everything adds up, but it's not a lot of money that we're talking about.
That's right. And it is if we recall it, particularly Rongatea, it's been requested by that community ever since I've been on council, and having taken a few funerals there, it definitely needs some work. Councillor McFadden.
I support just leaving it there.
Thank you. Right, moving on, the bringing forward the CapEx to paint the pool. That was a no-brainer given the condition that we saw, information that was given to us. So unless anything's changed, no. The Cedar, this is seeking an extension of the funding. This is contributing to the project manager that is overseeing the Central New Zealand Distribution Hub project, which is gathering another round of momentum at the moment. And my personal view is that we certainly need to support this. The project manager has been key to opening doors in central government and getting some of the key partners outside this region involved. Councillor Quarry.
Thank you. I can appreciate your comments, Your Worship. And I can see the bigger picture that it involves. But I don't believe the project will go ahead this year, next year, the following year, or the year after. And therefore, how long do we continue to contribute to the program? You know, we're supporting a program which it's going to be years in the making. And all we're doing is providing a salary for another individual to spend another year promoting the act. Now, like I say, if it was to happen next year, I'd fully support it, but it's not going to happen for many, many years to come. And to me, we might as well cut our losses now and say, sorry, that's it.
This project has always been a long-term economic driver for the region. And unless we said we backed it at the start, and, you know, if we are to get the reward of this project in the years to come, and yes, it is a long-term project, the economic benefit, and MDC do our share, because it's not just about the money. We also have people that sit on the lead team role, making sure that the Manawatū district gets potential benefit from this project through our commercial industrial area and through our roading program. It is going to take a long-term commitment, and you need somebody on the case to make sure that it stays in front of the investors and central government.
So are we prepared to pay an extra 25K next year, the year after that, and then on?
My own view is yes, we have to give this project every chance of getting off the ground. This project has the potential to set central New Zealand, particularly Manawatū, on the map and become the third logistics and distribution hub in New Zealand.
I think that will happen, but it's just a question of how much money we keep chasing after it. And therefore,
It will only happen if there's somebody who's dedicated to driving the project. And as a stakeholder, there's a number of stakeholders. Shane, there's probably
Well, there's quite a few now.
who contribute.
Worship, I think it would be an extremely good idea for us to get Robbie and Jerry to come and present to council on where this project's at.
Yes.
It has gained some momentum in the last year, and there's also some considerations being given now around how the balance land might be bought. So I think coming and giving council an update, so you really do appreciate just the fact that there has been some momentum and there has been some work done. I don't think it's right for me to do that. I'm not across it as in detail like Robbie would be, but I think it would be right. They're asking for funding. It's right that council has brought up the speed with what's happening.
Absolutely. Thank you. Councillor McFadden.
Thank you, Worship. It's, I guess the journey started. It's one of the few competitive advantages that our region has outside of our core agricultural product. I can't see anyone else wanting to come into this region and become a big employer for any other area that's not around that. It's a key hub is around that distribution. So I actually support the 25,000 because I'd rather spend that than running around jumping to some visions or some mad ideas in some of the field that just we won't get a return on.
Thank you. Right, so we can put that to the vote later. The next one is traffic management for community events. As you recall, the costs of road closures, traffic management plans is horrendous, and the red tape that event organisers have to go through. Hopefully, we'll get some streamlining with some of the work that central government's doing around this. And it also fits with our town centre refresh, wanting to see more events, more vibrancy. However, and one way to help towards this was council looking to contribute to the cost of traffic management, but not just in Fielding. The team have just worked on the traffic management plans for the Combolton Sculpture Festival, the Tough Kids Challenge at Mount Biggs, and the Bainesi Rangiotu big event that they have down there, which impacts on the highway. So that's where that request has come from. Anybody who thinks otherwise? And the reality is, if there is no support to help towards the costs of these events, there will be less events, because the groups that run these are non-profit or sometimes just completely volunteers, expecting them to find the additional money to pay for traffic management is just too much. Councillor McFadden.
Thank you, Bishop. I mean, we recognise that we're trying to we're trying to reinvigorate our town. We don't want any more empty shops. The way we're going to do that is for them to get more customers. And if you don't have the events, how are you going to get the customers?
Yeah.
So for me, this isn't really an expense, this is an investment.
Thank you. Councillor Hadfield.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. Look, I also support this because I think bringing of events to the community actually not only good for the community, but it enhances, economic activity. And I might actually just point out that the same sort of principle applies, in my view, to actually having the capacity to bring events to the Civic Centre. I don't see it as any different. It adds to the vibrancy of the community, and it also adds to, to the enhancement of economic wellbeing.
Thank you. The next one is the Resource Recovery Centre. There was a request to purchase a portacom for the staff that work there. And we are looking to have up to 50% of that funded from the Waste Levy Fund, assuming that the government leaves it alone. So nothing against that one. Councillor Short?
I just wondered if staff have looked to see, do we need a brand new portacom? There might be something suitable secondhand on the market. I know Ohaki is going to be dispensing with quite a few soon.
There might well be, but then there might not as well. So we need to budget for that higher amount. It may be that we spend less, but in the budget, and again, it's a capex item, so we'll only spend what we need to spend. But I know the team's very conscious about getting a cost-effective solution there.
Councillor Ford?
My understanding is if we don't, then probably, I think it's Smart Environmental will do it themselves and charge us more. So we're going to pay whichever way. So on that basis, I support it.
Thank you. The Combolton Wastewater Treatment Plant, this is the need to meet compliance. It's kind of a must-have, have to do one. The same with the Fielding Water Resilience, Turners Road Reservoir. That project's underway, so it's costs that we have to meet to complete it. The Ranfurly Road landfill capping, we heard from the CE, this is a historical matter that needs resolving if that area is to continue to develop. With no new information on that one, is there?
No, but it is quite critical, and I do note that the proposed changes to the offence and fines in the RMA amendment would mean that we don't comply with this and there's leachate coming from the landfill, we'll get slammed. So, and we have to do this. And look, we have an obligation to the neighbouring properties as well to make sure that we do this right. It's something we've inherited, but it is a council landfill, so we have to do it.
Thank you. And am I right in saying this this is the last step in tidying that whole thing up?
Ish.
Okay. Well, that's my thinking.
It is the last step in the terms of capping the landfill, but there are some other things we have to tidy up around retention ponds and some land that was being leased, which we are working through with the landowner at the moment.
Okay. And if you've been up that area, the potential there, well, the new houses that are popping up there already, plus the potential. The next one is the credit rating. This was us having the discussion through audit and risk about council seeking to get the information about whether to get a credit rating to increase our amount of borrowing. I guess if a question for Shane or Amanda, if we go down the at the moment preferred model for Three Waters of an in-house model, do you see this as critical that we continue with this?
Yep, if we stay in-house, because if you recall, we're at our borrowing limits now. So if we want to deliver our capex for our Three Waters, then the only option we have is to apply this. Plus, if you look at the presentations Amanda has given, I think it was after 5 years or 7 years, we do start seeing a return. So,
thank you. Thank you. So that's one we need to pick up with, and we've already had the discussion around the subsidised roading renewals. It's really a matter of do we carry those forward or not. So unless there's any questions on any of those specifically, we can go back to the recommendations on page 20. We will go through them one at a time. Right, so can I have a mover and a seconder for the recommendations 1A? Councillor Hadfield.
You want me to read it out, Your Worship?
Thank you.
Goodness.
Just to make it clear and transparent.
So we're moving that the following initiatives be included in the draft annual plan 25-26. A, Fielding Civic Centre increase in grant and funding by 15,525 per year, funded from a transfer from existing budgets.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Ford. I put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. Thank you. 1B, I have a mover and a seconder, councillor Hadfield.
Yeah, and changes Fielding Civic Centre increase in grant funding of up to $64,500 per year to be funded by rates.
Thank you. Note the change of amount. Seconded by councillor Ford. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Motion is carried. Thank you. 1C, I have a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Ford.
C, increase grant funding to Fielding District Promotion up to $25,000 per year to contribute towards the security camera operational costs to be funded by rates.
Thank you. You have a seconder, councillor McFadden. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Do you want your vote recorded? Thank you.
I'll go against.
Thank you. Do you wish your vote to be recorded? Thank you. The motion is carried. 1D, mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Ford.
Increase CapEx budget up to $90,170 for the Fielding Clock Tower clock mechanism repair.
Thank you. I have a seconder, councillor Short. Councillor Underwood.
Is it possible to add into those that we are seeking third-party funding for the majority of it?
Well, it does say up to. And then with the supporting notes, it is on record that we are seeking third-party funding.
It's in the report that we are seeking.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. So I have a mover and a seconder. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Motion is carried. Thank you. 1E, mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Ford.
Increase CapEx budget up to $85,000 for the Fielding Clock Tower lighting upgrade.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Short. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against?
Aye.
You wish your vote to be recorded? No. Thank you. Motion is carried. 1F. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Short.
Increase grant funding for Awahu Forest Kitchen Park Trust by 20,000 in the 2025-26 year, and 20,000 in the 2026-27 year for plant management funded by rates.
Thank you.
Extra $2 million.
Seconded by councillor Quigley. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. 1G. Councillor McFadden.
Thank you. Increase CapEx by 30,000 for Fielding Cemetery gates to improve security.
Thank you. Note the change in dollar value. Seconded by councillor Ford. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against?
Aye.
Do you wish your vote to be recorded? No. Thank you. Motion is carried. 1H. Councillor McFadden.
Increase CapEx by 27,000 to increase capacity at Rangitia and Waituna West cemeteries.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Short. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. Thank you. 1I. Do I have a seconder, mover and a seconder, please? Councillor McFadden.
bring forward $216,570 of CapEx from years 3 and 4 of the long-term plan 2024 to 2034 to 2025-26 year 2 of the long-term plan to paint Makino Aquatic Centre outdoor pools.
Thank you. Seconder, councillor Ford. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. 1J. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Ford.
Increase grant funding to CEDA by $25,000 in the 2025-26 year to fund council's contribution to the extension of the Te Utanganui program lead role funded by rates.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor McFadyen. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against?
No.
Thank you. Do you wish your votes to be recorded? No. Motion is carried. 1K. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Ford.
Increase OPEX by $45,000 per year to fund traffic management for community events funded by rates.
Thank you. I'll second that one. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against?
Against.
Thank you. Do you wish your votes recorded?
Yes.
Thank you, councillor Underwood. The motion is carried. 1L. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor McFadyen.
Excuse me. Increase new CapEx budget to 175,000. Sorry, start again. Increase new CapEx budget up to 175,000 for an office portacom at the Resource Recovery Centre.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Hadfield. Thank you. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. 1M. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Schultz.
Increase renewal CapEx budget by 65,000 for Kimbolton wastewater treatment plant renewals.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Underwood. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. Thank you. Councillor Bell, it might be if you pop your hand up, please, so I can just make sure that I've captured your vote as well. Thank you. 1N. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Short.
Increase new CapEx by $267,972 for fielding water resilience, Turners Road Reservoir.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Quigley. Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against?
Yes.
Do you wish your vote recorded?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Motion is carried. 1O. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor McFadyen.
Increase OPEX by 75,000 in 2025-26 for capping of Rainfurly Road landfill funded by rates.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Ford. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. Thank you. 1P. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Ford.
Increase OPEX by $57,000 per year to obtain a credit rating for council funded by rates.
Thank you. A seconder, please. Councillor Hadfield. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Do you wish your votes to be counted?
Yeah, I do.
Recorded? Yes, councillor Belsky. Motion is carried. 1Q. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Short.
Increase subsidised roading renewal CapEx by $513,241, which results in an increase in the local share of $143,792.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor McFadyen. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Thank you. Do you wish your vote recorded?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. And lucky last, 1R. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Short.
Increase subsidised roading OPEX by $382,136, which results in an increase in the local share of $187,247 funded by rates.
Thank you. I have a seconder, councillor Quigley.
Just check the wording on that one too, because funded is in there twice.
Yes, correct. Councillor Quigley, councillor Ford.
Your Worship, I'm just slightly unclear still where we got to with the opportunity of pushing that out to a future year, which I'm still interested in.
Excuse me. So I had one answer from Amos, but then John's said it would be difficult to complete some of the work that we've got already happening if we push this out. Is that right, John?
So this is,
Can you use the microphone?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how it works. This is OPEX. So this is the maintenance, which is at minimum now. So if we don't have that top up, we won't be able to continue with the maintenance. It's not renewals. So
So that maintenance would be deferred to another year.
well, a lot of it is the potholes, etc. Cutting the grass, edge marker posts, etc. So if you didn't do it, it's already at a minimum now. It's just going to go backward. So the more you reduce maintenance, you increase the cost of renewals.
Yep. Councillor Hadfield.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. Can I just ask the Chief Executive whether we're looking at pushing out the CapEx or we are looking at pushing out the OPEX?
No, it's OPEX.
Okay, thank you.
It's when the 187 OPEX, the rates component, but it does mean that we don't miss. If we push it out, that we get the subsidy, but then we've got a rate for it in a later year.
Councillor McFadden.
no, withdraw, so.
You're
withdraw the
fine.
request.
Okay. Councillor Ford.
I'd like to at least push part of it out, maybe not all of it, in order to, it's very important, in my opinion, to find this 0.3%, and I don't think we've got there yet. And this seems to be the one that's gives us the most potential. So I certainly won't be supporting the full 187,000 for this year. I think we need to find, is it about $140,000, something like that?
0.3 is about
0.3 of 470,000?
170.
70, is it? Sorry.
So far you've done 45.
45 plus potential for third-party funding, but that's CapEx anyway, so it's minor.
We've dropped 45 from your initial support by taking a portion of the building civic centre, because they're asking for 64.5, not 100 anymore, and the gates. I'm pretty sure that was CapEx.
Yeah.
I think it was.
Yes, it is.
Let's just go
It
with
is
35,
CapEx.
sorry.
Yeah.
So you're at 135.
We'll drop about 135 to offset the three waters, the three waters.
I know.
Just
Oh, I took it down.
trigger it
yes.
under 5.
That was the same number, but yeah. Yeah, about 175, I think, is a three waters component. And it's about 0.34.
Worship, John's got a comment.
John.
I've got a suggestion. Leave the OPEX alone because be foolhardy to reduce that, but I assume that some of the emergency works is in the renewals.
If it's renewal, it's still not rates. The existing budget, which the council's all been through, if you're talking about taking out renewals, that's CapEx, that's very minimal impact on rates.
Yeah, well, this Pararorangi Bridge replacement could be shoved out. I don't know if that would help.
Oh, which is a topic on our agenda today.
No.
Yeah, which is
No, that's not.
The road is.
the races, but the bridge isn't there following the cyclones.
But that's a renewal, that's CapEx.
CapEx as well.
So this is OPEX that we're talking about here, the OPEX component of that subsidy. So, I mean, maybe given that it's we're talking about as a 3-year funding package from MZTA, maybe we could look at, as the Deputy Mayor suggested, that we fund some from rates next year and then balance from rates the following year. So perhaps go 50% or something like that, 50%. So that would get us down a bit, but I don't think that 90 odd K would make a great deal pushing it into the following year.
Councillor McFadyen.
Thank you, Your Worship. Basically, if you're wanting to pick up on councillor Ford's point, then really we'd need to reduce, or sorry, to increase our share of it to 50,000 near enough, which would give us.
Which is what my
30. Yeah.
So I'm suggesting 90. So
yeah, 90, but that still would leave us short unless you've got some more you're going to whip from somewhere else.
90.
The 90 won't get you to exactly the 0.3.
No.
You say it will, it wouldn't, sorry?
It wouldn't.
No.
You can tweak, if you want to get to exactly that number, we could tweak your resilience reserve, your insurance reserve.
So we could do it from there.
We've still got those two numbers sitting there. So if you got close and you wanted to find an extra 10 or 20K, you'd reduce your reserves that you're rating for to get your balance.
So given that the decision around reducing the resilience and self-insurance, that's not on the table today.
It's not on the table in terms of looking at it from the DC perspective, but there's nothing to stop us looking at that as part of this process. So all you have to do is just pass that motion, reducing the amount to say 97K or something, and then would leave it to us to do the rest.
Fine. Yep.
And then the balance to be used through the resilience.
Okay, so given that I have a mover and a seconder already, and the discussion is the mover and the seconder interested in changing the wording on the motion? Oh, we only have it.
It hasn't been seconded.
Oh, okay. We didn't. Okay. So I had a mover. No, is there any seconder as is written in the motion there, councillor Quarry? Right.
Who moved it?
Councillor Short.
So what was the amendment to?
Well, we haven't. At the moment, we have the motion as written on the table. Councillor Ford.
Well, I'm willing to move an amendment.
So we can just change the wordings.
If the mover and the seconder are willing to change the.
I think the second is unlikely since he's just moved it.
I'm sorry, did it get?
It did get seconded, did Councillor Quarry.
So I think he's going to be a problem.
Okay, so once it's moved and seconded, then there has to be an amendment to the motion.
Yeah, thank you. So councillor Ford, proceed.
I'll amend the motion. I'm not quite sure of the numbers, but we want to get to so that which results in an increase in the local share of. You're suggesting 97?
Well, I'm suggesting we go 50%. So
yep.
93,620.
What he said, yeah, $93,620 funded by rates.
Thank you. So that's the amendment. You've got the figure there?
Yes, although the original figure is still in there.
Yeah, well,
we'll have to change that.
That needs to be divided by 2.
And sorry, the 382,000 goes down to $191,068.
So we have a mover for the amendment. Do I have a seconder for the amendment? Thank you, councillor Campbell. So I'll put the amended motion as on the screen. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against?
No.
Thank you. That's 2. Do you wish your votes to be recorded? Thank you. That motion is carried. And Belsky and Quarry. Thank you.
So that now, Your Worship, that's the amendment to the motion. You now have to put a substantive motion, but it becomes the motion. Do you have a view? So you just need to read out the whole lot again.
Okay, can you pop that wording back up, please? Right, so we need a new mover and seconder?
No, you just put that.
Oh, we'll just put that motion. Okay. So the motion is to increase the subsidised roading OPEX by $191,068, which results in an increase in the local share of $93,620 funded by rates. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Thank you. The motion is carried. Right, and the final recommendation there.
That's just for noting. We don't need to
Noting.
move and second it, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Ford.
So in terms of the shortfall, that if council agrees with my suggestion of getting it, of dropping 0.3% to get it down under the 6%, are we able to just give a steer to the chief executive, or do we need that as a motion? Mr.
Well,
Chief Executive?
I think what I'd like is, is 5.95 or 5.99. And then we know what we've got to do, and then council gives me some indication that you're happy for us to find the balance of the money in the resilience and insurance reserves.
Okay. So do we need that as a motion or just an agreed direction?
No, just a direction from council.
Okay, thank you.
Because you will get this as part of
It
the
will-
annual
it will come
plan
back
as
to
it
us.
goes through still.
Yeah. So, Councillor Campbell.
Just alongside that, I'm still interested, and I'm not sure we had an update for a while on the effect of the change in interest rates and depreciation from the long-term plan to now. What the those updated figures might be, because I'm presuming that the interest rate figure we had budgeted in year one of finance costs in year one of 4.470 million, but I'm presuming it's less than that.
I was brought to a workshop previously, right early on. So as part of the initial budgeting of the base program, on the base work, we brought that through to a council workshop. It had updated the depreciation forecast based on work done and the new pricing of the CPI increases. We also brought you through the interest rates assumptions. So yes, they have reduced. We brought that through to a workshop.
Yeah, well, I think that would have been back in November. We've had further interest rate drops since then.
We have, but our interest rates are predominantly fixed. We don't get them as soon as they drop. We don't.
Yeah.
So it takes a period of time.
Yeah. And has there been any indication of updates on depreciation between now and the last quarter?
No, our depreciation rates haven't changed this, and our bill indices haven't changed. That doesn't change our depreciation.
What's the timing of the valuation work?
Valuations get
into
done
that?
at 30th of June every year, and therefore you bring them into next year, the end of this year's annual plan. We have assumed that the valuation increases will be matching the bill indices. Previously, other than last year, previously they were much higher than that, but last year that assumption held true.
Right. Okay.
Thank you. So given that discussion, are we comfortable giving the CE direction to take on board those changes today and the direction to set the rates at starting with a 5 and to look at the self-insurance and resilience fund?
Starting with a 5's good, but it'll also be a 0.9 in there as well. So I can't.
So my suggestion is that we should be aiming for a rates increase, existing rate payers of no more than 5.99%, and that we use the resilience reserve and self-insurance reserve to get there if need be.
Thank you. Okay. So are we comfortable that's the direction that we give our team? Thank you. Councillor Hadfield.
I'd probably prefer 5.95.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, so 5.9 something.
we've got the gist of where you want us to. I don't think we should delay a cup of coffee.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the discussion. It is important. Thank you for the additional information that came from the team to help us get there. And it is tough. Yeah. So, but I think, we have spent quite a bit of time on this and to where we've got to. So thank you to everyone that's participated. So we are going to take a 15-minute break for morning tea and then come back, and we'll come back with Kayla.
Oh, maybe you've rolled it.
Scary. Right, welcome back. We're going back to item 6.3 and a very warm welcome to Kayla Williamson. The Williamson family are well known in our district, and obviously the creative abilities going through the generations. So Kayla is a granddaughter of Howard and Jackie Williamson, who you'll know have done lots of the art, the Saleyard Silhouette, the Huntaway Dog at Hunterville. So today Kayla came to our deputy mayor some time ago. It was about a year ago. Must be just about.
Probably.
Yeah. Needing to complete her master's in architecture. And she had because she had a connection with this community and her love of heritage buildings, decided to base her work on on Fielding and the old courthouse in particular. So thank you to the staff that helped gather historic information, old plans, etc. And congratulations for achieving your masters. And so Kayla's now ready to enter the big world of architecture and moving to Australia, to Melbourne. So there again, our loss. But Kayla came and presented the work that she did for her masters to Michael and I, and we were blown away with the enthusiasm and the passion for the potential. And we just thought we wanted to share it with you today to just show you that the younger generations are interested in heritage and the preservation and repurposing and what can you do with them. So Kayla's going to take us through her presentation and then refer to some of the drawings up on the wall. So welcome, Kayla. I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. That was a lovely introduction. So yeah, I'm Kayla, and this is my university thesis project, and I titled it A Heritage Transformation and Celebration of Fielding's Built Heritage. I don't know how this clicker works.
There we go.
So as part of our thesis, each student had to give a research question encompassing the project's focus. And mine was, how could the restoration of Fielding's town centre, in combination with modern architectural intervention, become an enrichment and celebration of its Edwardian built heritage? So you're probably thinking, why Fielding, even though you've just explained it to me. I got feedback, I received valuable advice when selecting the location of my thesis, and it was emphasised that choosing a location that resonates with me personally can significantly enhance both the enjoyment of the project and the quality of the results. So I have a personal connection to Fielding, as my dad is from Fielding and most of my extended family live here, as you guys know. So I've spent a lot of time in this part of New Zealand, so you could say I've sort of grown up on the farm. And it is clear from my time here as a young child to now that Fielding is a charming town home to a vibrant farming community, and it forms the heart of its rural identity. So analysing the town was a big part of the early stages of this project, so I could fully understand the demographics and the future planning, as well as unpack any current constraints to ultimately find opportunities to architecturally intervene. This diagram communicates Fielding's population growth. On the left is the first town plan drawn up in 1874, and on the right is how Fielding looks now. The town has significantly expanded from the original square boundary, highlighted in red, with Manchester Square, Kimbolton Road, the Makino Stream, and the road that following the original railway still stands with importance. Further zoning in, the town square is clearly the hub of activity, surrounded by many successful attractions, clubs, community facilities, the new library building, plentiful schools and parks, and it was honestly tricky to identify what the town was needing architecturally, as it has all the qualities of the thriving town that Fielding is. However, identifying that the town museum currently sits on the outskirts of town, this raised the first opportunity for potential intervention, and this becomes sort of the focal point of my project. Following the town analysis, it led into the building analysis, where I analysed all the buildings surrounding the town square. And so most of the existing heritage buildings were built between 1893 and 1919, so late Victorian to early Edwardian era. And 34 buildings of heritage significance were identified around the town square, and which I'm sure most of you are aware of, face an uncertain future due to the changes in building regulations regarding earthquake strengthening. So as part of my documentation, I created a documented walkthrough of the past and present town square to compare how the heritage buildings originally presented to understand how they've been retained or developed to suit present day. And through this analysis, it was clear that the common denominator for the loss of most of Fielding's heritage buildings was due to fire or earthquake damages, and it could soon be because of the building regulations. So then, out of the 34 heritage buildings, majority of them still retain their original Edwardian characteristics with minor aesthetic interventions. A few have been demolished due to significant fire or earthquake damage and redeveloped, although the ones that have been redeveloped are of modern construction and efforts have been made for the new architecture to resemble the Edwardian characteristics of the town. And then there were 3 buildings that presented as unoccupied, which led into my choice of site. So yeah, my chosen site consists of 3 buildings: the Fielding Courthouse, which is a heritage rank, Manawatū District Council building, heritage rank B, the Fielding Little Theatre, and the Te Manawa Family Services Heritage New Zealand Historic Place Category 1 building. The charm of this site, along with the opportunities it offers, includes the 3 buildings are linked by their boundaries, so they can be refurbished together as an exemplar of the advantages for restorative design coordination and the economies of scale across multiple buildings. The current unbuilt space in and around the 3 properties provides the opportunity to architecturally explore additional built intervention and new landscaping. The Fielding Courthouse is currently unoccupied, allowing for an unencumbered design exploration as well as giving construction a head start. There is iconic functional and architectural heritage status on the courthouse and the Te Manawa Family Services building. There is opportunity to increase the foot traffic along MacArthur Street and Stafford Street, create public access through the properties to make the site more welcoming, and introduce new and mixed commercial activities to keep the site lively and active. Now I move. So my project began with the courthouse and exploring how to reintroduce the currently abandoned building site back into the community in a way that instates its heritage and architectural value. So through my research, it became clear that the most respectful way to go about it was to retain the existing heritage as is and give it a new purpose as a versatile museum and gallery space for the people of Fielding. The Coach House Museum, which sits on the outskirts of town, was established to preserve and tell the story of the significant vehicles of Fielding and the wider district. The Coach House Museum has been incredibly successful and inspires what could be achieved if the dedicated town museum were to be in the centre of town within this significant heritage building. Following the design intention for the courthouse and further unpacking the site's context, the project then expanded to include the Little Theatre, as the future of this building is soon to be uncertain yet again, and it might not have the community's support to fall back on. Although it is not a heritage building, the emphasis of community value within Fielding render this building just as important as the other 2. The building desperately needs upgrading, but I didn't want to make the site unrecognisable. Therefore, the intention to retain the original facade became an important design consideration, especially because the mural provides the connection to the rest of the town. The project then expanded further to occupy the full Stafford Street frontage, once discovering the significance of the Te Manawa Family Services building. Currently, the building is fine just the way it is. The heritage building is up to code and serves purpose as the office space for the family services. However, it felt as though the heritage and architectural significance of the original 2-storey building, which could have been Fielding's most significant Edwardian building, needed to be reflected architecturally. Therefore, this project involves repurposing the courthouse, introducing an associated new architectural intervention by the way of cafe and outdoor courtyard space to connect the site and provide space for the necessary facilities to make the existing spaces functional, the redevelopment of the Little Theatre into a not-so-little theatre, and the reconstruction of the second story that references and takes inspiration from the original facade. So each building on their own is currently undervalued, but by expanding the connection from the courthouse to the Little Theatre and then including the Family Services building, the courthouse has become a catalyst to an enrichment of buildings and site as a whole. My floor plans. So overall, the organisation of the site takes inspiration. I need the clicker. Ooh, one more. Okay. So overall, the organisation of the site takes inspiration from the Nelson School of Musical Arts, which was a site with 2 existing heritage buildings, and Irving Smith Architects' new 2018 extension that is strategically inserted between them. So it's that in the middle. From the front, I've strategically exposed the corners of both the existing buildings, and that in itself fundamentally says what's important. It creates visual gaps to allow the original heritage buildings to remain fully legible, as the new building is just facilitating anything old and bringing it together. In addition, I've restored the courthouse and family services buildings to how they originally appeared. So everything in black is the original buildings. In saying this, the shape of the new architectural intervention reflects the form of the secure holding room / interview room that was added to the courthouse in 2003. So my whole design is based off the secure holding room that was added in the form, and it's evolved from there. Yeah, and that shape runs along the boundary of the site. Then the asymmetrical roof follows suit, but is raised high enough to allow as much sunlight as possible into the site as the site is southwest facing. By removing the existing additions that, in my opinion, have negatively affected the original building's heritage essence, it has opened the site up for a larger theatre, as well as the opportunity to include a shared driveway laneway to increase the site permeability and connecting the opposite streets. Okay, so I'll walk you through my floor plans. So, it's okay, the pictures are fine now. So you enter through the main doors. Can I use this as a pointer? You enter through the main doors here, where they are greeted by the building managers / reception. Here they can ask questions about upcoming shows, general building questions like how to access the museum, or can they just simply walk through to the cafe and grab themselves a coffee or a bite to eat. Cafe there. There are multiple seating options to choose from to cater to the different reasons why one may visit a cafe. There's indoor seating for a more formal occasion to accommodate larger groups. A breakout space where you get to feel as though you're sitting outside, but protected if there's a cold wind or a bit of rain. And then the outdoor seating, perfect spot on a sunny day for a cold one, or for young families with kids who can play freely while the parents chit chat. Yeah. So I'll show you that on this one. Indoor, breakout, outdoor. Then if you venture further and head up the ramp and turn right, you'll find the toilets. Toilets. Otherwise, you can turn to the left and access the courthouse / museum gallery, where the guests can walk around freely with a cup of coffee in their hand. That's the space here. And then that's showing. This is what the inside of the courthouse looks like. So all the heritage detail has been retained. And currently, Jackie, my granny's art is on display. When there is a performance, guests and actors are still encouraged to enter through the main entrance, but there is a second point of entry directly into the back of house and storage spaces for deliveries of costumes and set props. So that's down the shared driveway. Space here. The cafe becomes the pre-theatre gathering space where you can buy a last-minute ticket or a glass of wine and some bar snacks before the show. Actors venture into the back of house here. This is all their back of house. Into their private green rooms and dressing rooms, while the control room and the more storage space is allocated on the second story. So upstairs And then there's more space up here. The performance space has been designed to be as versatile as possible as a black box or studio theatre. All the seating can be completely removed or rearranged however you like, but I've currently got it drawn as a 360 performance space. But the versatility allows for bigger events occupying all three spaces. For example, if the cafe has a bigger venue where they need more seats, the cafe can then expand the space. Or if the gallery needs a second larger space to show the work, then this can become an extension from that. Or even like weddings can take over the whole venue, so all three buildings can work together. And that is pretty much my project.
Thanks, Kayla. Take a seat because I'm sure there will be some questions. So as you can see, we were pretty excited when we saw this, but just the passion and we wanted to share it just to show you the vision of potentially what can happen. And, everything comes down to dollars, but you have to have the vision and the passion to start with. So any questions of Kayla in regards to this project? Questions or comments? Councillor Underwood.
So to use the courthouse as a viewing space, it would obviously have to be earthquake strengthened. And would you envisage it just being as an art gallery or to have other museum pieces in there as well?
Oh, no. So like the space is just, so the reason why, the easiest way to go about refurbishing an old building is turning it into a museum/gallery, because then the spaces open up and it's easier to do the earthquake strengthening because you're not adding too much stuff into the building to change its framework and stuff like that. But it's pretty much just making that space, again, a very versatile space so it can hold museum galleries, like long-term gallery exhibitions, or you can use each of those rooms and have them as their own sort of like gallery spaces. So it's just making that all those spaces as versatile as possible. Yeah.
Awesome. Councillor Quigley.
Thank you. This is probably more a question for Shane. I thought the courthouse was going to be offered back to Maori.
No, I don't really know where that's at. It's Ministry of Justice, but I don't know whether it's land banked or not. I'd have to check.
That's all. Good work, by the way.
Thank you.
Councillor Ford.
So to part answer Councillor Quigley, there was a newspaper article only probably 2 days ago saying that the Fielding Courthouse may become available for sale. There's a four-stage process that's not at stage 4 yet, but stage 4 is it could be offered for sale to the open market, but there are stage 1, 2 and 3 to go through, but they have initiated that process. So I won't go into the details of stage 1, 2 and 3, but there is a possibility, and this is 100% coincidence with Kayla coming today, that in the week that Kayla comes, goodness me, this, could be a dream come true. And we might have that. Will you come back from Australia for the opening of the gallery? Or the restaurant? Yeah.
Yeah. Any questions from our staff, from management team, or comments? Considering we're doing our town centre refresh at the moment. Lynn.
Yeah, like everybody, I just like to applaud you for your vision and also that the keeping the facades of the buildings, but the increasing the utility of the buildings is, of course, really important, and a really important part of a business case when you're considering, cost versus value. And, I guess it's probably a conversation for offline, but, what's your next steps as a result of having developed these plans? I guess are they available, or how are the plans available, I guess?
They are as available as they are right now. Yeah.
Which is fantastic. And if like Councillor Ford said, the timing with the town centre refresh, the work we're doing, earthquake prone buildings, and just trying to share the vision of the vibrancy that could be had in our town centre. It just all came together really, really well. Yeah, just again, thank you. Congratulations. And I obviously the markers, whoever did the marking for your degree, obviously they saw the passion that you had in this project, and it just shows through, particularly when you talk about it, the fact that you live here and are part of it, and want to see the preservation of some of our heritage. So sad to hear that you're going across the ditch. Hopefully it won't be forever, and we've got your contact details. So we wish you all the best, and just thank you for coming today, because I know it was a big step for you being able to come and speak in public, and but thank you for that. It was outstanding, so well done.
Thank you.
Councillor Ford.
Yeah, thanks again, Kayla. Thanks for, I know it was an 8-hour trip to get here yesterday. Kayla does live in Auckland. She's got the fielding or the local connection, but she's an Aucklander. And thank you for choosing our town and our courthouse, and for being so enthusiastic about our town and other sites. I think some of you know that Kayla's had a little bit of input into and some buildings in Manchester Street, Manchester Square, and who knows where we might get to in the future. But thank you, and it's been a pleasure to help in a very small way in getting you access to buildings and a few bits and pieces. But it's great for someone in a big city to say, "Gosh, I'd like to do my thesis for my masters in fielding." So thank you, Kayla.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. Now you can go and enjoy some family time before you have to zip back.
Yeah, true.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So do you want to take these back with you, or are we able to hang on to those?
Come on, you can hang on to them. Yeah.
We can?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so there's no rush to take them down, guys. You can put them back up.
Put it back up, Michael.
Right, we've got to.
Where did it
I'll take these ones because these ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll stay in contact. Leave it down.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on in our agenda, we're on page 28, item 10.2. This is the temporary closure for the rally sprint event. And Amy's going to take us through the request, and then we may have some questions.
Good morning, Mayor and councillors. I'm here this morning to request the approval for the closure of Pararorangi Road as listed under the report's recommendation section in order to allow the Manawatū Car Club to undertake a rally sprint event on Saturday, the 8th of March. This is a locally organised event and it involves the closure of one no exit road. The Manawatū Car Club consulted with the residents of Pararorangi Road before applying for the road closure, and the application to us was accompanied by a letter signed by those residents in agreement to the closure. The proposed closure was advertised in the Fielding Herald on the 28th of November and placed on the upcoming road closures web page. The objection period closed on the 20th of December 2024, and no objections were received. I'm happy to take any questions. Otherwise, I'll point you to the recommendation of this report.
Thanks, Amy. Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Short.
There's only a couple of properties up that road anyway, aren't there? Because they're large farms.
Yeah, I think there's only three signatures on that, people up there.
Excellent. So if there's no questions, we can go to the recommendation on page 28. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Ford.
I move that pursuant to section 342B and the 10th schedule of the Local Government Act 1974, for the purpose of allowing Manawatū Car Club to conduct Pararangi Road Rally Sprint event, Pararangi Road be closed to ordinary vehicular traffic between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. on Saturday, 8th of March 2025, subject to the receipt of the public liability and insurance policy, which will be current at the time of the event, and a traffic management plan prepared by an authorised site traffic management supervisor and in accordance with the New Zealand Transport Agency Code of Practice of Temporary Traffic Management.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Quigley. Thank you. No further discussion. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
And hopefully they'll have a great event. Right, we're on page 33, 10.3. This is where we get the opportunity to decide on the order of candidates' names on the voting papers at the upcoming election.
Start at F, I guess.
Yes, lucky you. It is very, very academic, but the reason we do it is because if we don't, it just defaults to alphabetical, which is arguably the worst option, depending on where your surname lands. Yeah, so there's three options. Alphabetical, which we don't recommend. There's random, which is the recommended one, and random just means that if you have 10 voters, they've all got a random order of candidates. And then there's pseudo-random, which means that it's randomized at the start of the process, but then those 10 voters will have that same random order. And that's pretty much all there is to say, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. What did we do last time?
We've used random for the last 4 general elections.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Councillor Hadfield.
Yeah, I'm happy to go straight to the recommendation, Your Worship. That the names of candidates and voting documents for the 2025 election be arranged in random order by surname.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Ford. Thank you. Any further discussion? Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Motion is carried. Thank you. Thanks, team. Page 36. Page 36, 10.4. This is the working group for the review of CEDA appointment of directors policy. You will recall last year we had 3 directors coming up for reappointment, and when the Electoral College, made up of three from the city and 3 from Manawatū district, went through, we discovered that the policies, the policy wasn't absolutely correct, and it did have a statement in there that said that all appointments, including reappointments, need to be re-advertised. And we were of the view that for all the reasons that we discussed at the time and were given by CEDA, that we wish to continue the appointment of the 3 directors. And so that became a discussion between the city and ourselves, and eventually we both agreed to reappoint those 3 directors. We did do some interviews to follow the policy, but we felt that rather than wasting people's time and also streamlining the ability of the Electoral College, we needed to go back to the policy and tidy it up. So that's kind of the background, and Lynn, I'll hand it over to you to explain what's being proposed.
I'll take
Marie,
it, if that's
sorry.
all right.
Yeah.
That's okay. So good morning. So the purpose of this paper is to appoint a members to a joint working group with Palmerston North City Council. And for Palmerston North City Council, they must take a paper to a council meeting for any working group appointments. And so we're just reflecting their procedure, given we do the same papers for CEDA. So we recommend that our current Electoral College members join with the PNCC for the working group.
Thank you. And the city are meeting today to discuss this as well.
Yes.
Councillor Short.
So will the whole policy be being reviewed or just the?
Yes, that's right.
Because I did have a thought, can we only have 3 people?
Yes.
I was just thinking that, Councillor Blackmore is an HR specialist. She could have been a good addition to the panel or the ones that we provide.
So, Your Worship, following the decision of the working group, their papers will come back to council to approve the new policy. And in the Electoral College, it's about governance, it's not about HR as such. And but within the delegations for our elected members on the CEDA Electoral College, this seemed to be a natural fit for those 3 people that have been immersed in that to be the people that speak on behalf of you all to that policy, to the changes that might come to the policy. So the policy will come back to council for you to approve.
Thank you. Shane, did you want to add anything to that? No, thank you. Any further questions, comments? Councillor Underwood.
When you conducted those interviews, was there quite a bit of interest in the position?
There was, but the quality wasn't. I think in the end we interviewed 1. Is that correct? Plus we re-interviewed the 3 existing directors.
So it is
quite a lot of applicants.
There was a number of applicants. Yeah. Thank you. So if there's no further discussion on this, there are 3 recommendations on page 36. And do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Campbell.
I'll move that council establish a joint working group with Palmerston North City Council to review the CEDA appointment of directors policy. And 2, that council approve the terms of reference of the CEDA appointment of directors policy working group refer attachment 1. And 3, that council agree the mayor's recommendation to appoint Mayor Helen Wilboys, Councillor Grant Hadfield and Councillor Michael Ford as members of the Electoral College to the working group.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Quigley. Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, I'll put the motions. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Motion is carried. Thank you. Right, moving on. No late items. So item 12, I will move that the public be excluded from the following parts of the proceedings of this meeting, namely confirmation of minutes and release of public excluded resolutions to open session. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Underwood, thank you. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Motion is carried. Thank you.